Hello, and welcome to today's episode of In the Moment. I'm your host, Michael Clark, certified life coach, former therapist, and owner of Clark Coaching Services. I was a therapist for 8 years of my career and have been a life coach for almost 2 years now. And I just want to give back and share my knowledge and experience with you to try to help navigate this thing we call life. Thank you in advance for listening, and I'm so glad you're here. Hello. I'm really glad you're here. And before we get into anything else, I'm speaking to women today, and I want to say this up front. If you've been struggling with how you feel about yourself, it doesn't mean you're failing. It doesn't mean you're broken. And it definitely doesn't mean you're doing life wrong. It usually means you've been trying to survive, adapt, or protect yourself in a world that asks a lot from you. Keep the peace. Stay strong, even when you feel weak and tired. Take care of others before yourself. Children, the house, a partner, a parent, a business, a staff. Today, I want to talk about something that sits underneath almost every challenge I see women facing. The relationship with themselves. The relationship that shows up in your inner dialogue, the way you talk to yourself when no one else is listening, the assumptions you make about your worth, your needs, and your right to take up space. Because how you feel about yourself internally has a huge impact on how you show up externally in relationships, at work, with family, and even with strangers. If any of this feels familiar, just stay with me. There's no pressure to change anything today. Awareness alone is powerful. As you're listening, you might notice one or two things you want to try, and that's plenty for a start. Progress over perfection. Let's get into it. Most people think relationship struggles start with other people. My partner doesn't communicate. My family doesn't respect my boundaries. My boss doesn't value me. My friends don't show up. And sometimes, yes, those things are real. But underneath those experiences can be something quiet and subtle. It's the relationship you have with yourself. Because the way you treat yourself internally sets the tone for what you tolerate, what you ask for, what you believe you deserve, what you minimize or brush off, and how safe you feel to be open and honest. If deep down you believe I'm not enough, or I'm too much, or you believe my needs are a burden and I should just be grateful for whatever I get, those beliefs don't stay private. They quietly shape your choices. They influence how you present yourself, how often you say yes when you want to say no, how much you explain yourself, how often you doubt your instincts. This isn't a flaw, it's conditioning. It's what you have learned. It's protection. Here's something important I want you to hear. That inner voice that tells you you're not good enough didn't appear out of nowhere. It usually developed because at some point, being hard on yourself felt safer than being disappointed, respected, or hurt. For many women, self-criticism is a strategy, not a defect. If you grew up needing to be agreeable, be responsible, not cause problems, anticipate other people's needs, then being self-critical might have helped you stay connected, accepted, or safe. That voice often sounds like, don't mess this up. Try harder. Don't ask for too much. Be careful. It's not trying to ruin your life. It's trying to protect you from pain. The problem is, what once protected you can later limit you, because the same voice that keeps you safe can also keep you small and invisible, even to yourself. Don't get me wrong. I know I sound like I'm preaching here, and for that, I apologize. I've just seen so many go through such turmoil and hurt due to their inner voice by no fault of themselves. I work consistently with strong, smart, beautiful, intelligent women who see themselves as unworthy or not enough, even though there is so much evidence to the contrary. It's a result of years of adapting, minimizing, and learning to survive expectations that didn't leave much room for self-compassion. This is where the dots really start to connect. Let's talk about how internal beliefs quietly shape external patterns. Pattern 1. If you believe, I don't matter, you might minimize your feelings, avoid bringing things up, tell yourself it's not a big deal when it actually is. On the outside, it looks like being easygoing. On the inside, it can feel lonely. Pattern 2. If you believe, I'll be rejected if I'm honest, you might keep the peace, avoid conflict, swallow resentment. External people may see you as calm or flexible. Internally, you may feel unseen or unheard. Pattern 3. If you believe, I have to earn love, you might overgive, overfunction, take on emotional labor that isn't yours. You become the dependable one, the strong one, the one who holds it together. But inside, you may feel exhausted and unappreciated. And finally, pattern 4. If you believe, my needs are too much, you might pull away emotionally, avoid asking for support, handle everything yourself. People may think you're independent, but you may feel disconnected. None of these patterns mean you're doing anything wrong. They mean your nervous system learned what felt safest at that time. Now let's talk about self-love, because it's often misunderstood. Self-love is not constant confidence or always feeling positive or never doubting yourself or putting yourself above others. That's not self-love. Real self-love is quieter. It sounds like, I can be kind to myself even when I'm struggling. I don't have to punish myself to grow. I can hold discomfort without abandoning myself. Self-love is the ability to stay on your own side, to notice your inner dialogue and gently question it, to respond to fear with curiosity instead of judgment. And sometimes self-love does mean putting yourself first, not in a selfish way, not in a way that dismisses other people, but in a way that honors your limits, your energy, and your emotional well-being. It can look like saying no without over-explaining, resting without, quote unquote, earning it, choosing what's healthy for you, even when it feels uncomfortable or disappoints someone else. Putting yourself first is not about valuing yourself more than others. It's about valuing yourself enough to stop abandoning yourself to keep the peace. And self-love is not about getting rid of insecurity. It's about not letting insecurity run the show. I worked with a client whose sibling never asked how she was doing, never showed any interest in her life, and just was so self-absorbed that most conversations were just one-sided, where the sibling just talked about their money, travels, and successes. My client was hurt during those interactions because she felt insignificant and small and that her only living relative just didn't care about her. So she complained and got angry and asked what she could do to change her sibling. I worked with her in that it wasn't about changing her sibling. It was about changing her inner voice that was telling her, I don't matter unless someone else shows interest in me. That voice was loud and interpreting her sibling's self-absorption as proof that she was insignificant, invisible, or unworthy of care. And once that belief took hold internally, every interaction reinforced it. I worked on helping her notice that the pain wasn't coming from the sibling alone. It was coming from the meaning she was assigning to the behavior. The story her inner voice was telling was, if they cared, they would ask. If I mattered, they would notice. As she began to challenge that narrative and offer herself compassion instead of criticism, something important shifted. She stopped shrinking in those conversations. She stopped waiting to be validated. And she began deciding for herself how much emotional access she wanted to give. Nothing about the sibling changed, but the experience of the relationship did. Because when your inner voice stops telling you that you are small or unimportant, other people's limitations stop defining your worth. Let's talk about a few tools that are known to help without forcing positivity. 1, name the voice without fighting it. Instead of arguing with your inner critic, try noticing it. Oh, there's the not good enough voice. This creates distance. You're no longer inside the thought, you're observing it. That alone reduces its intensity. 2, ask, what is this trying to protect me from? This question shifts the tone completely. Instead of what's wrong with me, it becomes, what am I afraid of right now? Fear loses power when it's understood. That's important enough to say again. Fear loses power when it's understood. 3, replace absolutes with options. The mind loves words like always, never, everyone, no one. Try softening them. Instead of, I can't do this, try, this feels uncomfortable, not impossible. Small language shifts create emotional space. 4, practice staying connected instead of pushing yourself harder. Many women think being hard on themselves is what keeps them responsible or productive. But over time, that approach creates burnout and self-doubt. Self-kindness is not weakness. It's what allows you to keep going without abandoning yourself. Here's something many don't realize. You don't change emotional patterns by pushing harder. You change them by creating safety. When you feel safer internally, you speak more honestly, you set boundaries more clearly, you tolerate discomfort without collapsing or exploding. This is not about fixing yourself. It's about respecting yourself. Now, as the relationship with yourself softens, things shift outward. You may notice you pause before saying yes, you speak up sooner, you recover faster after conflict, you stop over-explaining, you trust your instincts more, not because you became tougher, but because you became kinder to yourself. And people respond to that. For some women, that response looks like people taking them more seriously because you are calmer and clearer. There's less apology, less justification, and more respect. For others, conversations feel different. When you speak up sooner instead of letting resentment build, things don't escalate the same way. There's less tension, less guessing, more honesty. And in some cases, people don't respond the way you hoped, but you recover faster. You don't spiral or second guess yourself the same way because your sense of worth is not hanging on their reaction anymore. So, as we wrap up, if any part of this resonated, I want you to know something. You're not behind, you're not failing, and you're definitely not alone. This work, building a healthy relationship with yourself, is the foundation for everything else. It's also what I specialize in. If you'd like support in changing your inner dialogue, strengthening your self-worth, and creating healthier relationships from the inside out, I'd be honored to work alongside you. You know how to reach me, clarkcoachingservices.com. And just so you know, I'm also putting together a simple supplemental guide that gathers all of the tools I mentioned today into one place. Something you can return to at your own pace if and when it feels helpful. Thank you, and please know that you are visible.